Hey guys, and welcome in onto this month's training, which is on courageous confidence. It's a really interesting topic for me because I really resonate with being a person who has probably had very little confidence growing up. I felt like I was extremely shy, introverted. I would literally feel nervous over so many situations, which is just ridiculous. Even things like I would never get on the phone. I would never even use to phone up for a taxi. I don't even know where that comes from, but just being and putting myself out there. And now I look to where I am now and the skills that I've managed to develop over the years, because although I've always resonated with being this incredibly shy person, probably anybody who knows me would be like, what? But that's how I feel on the inside. It's kind of like my natural go-to pattern, but it's definitely something that I have to work on constantly. And personality, when it comes to personality, you think about someone who's super confident, super bold, has got this really big personality, and you think, oh well, that's just the way that they're made. And yeah, some people are born with that, but very often we are nurtured that way. And you'll actually hear Gary Vee, if any of you follow him, he talks a lot about how massively confident he is, and that he puts that down to the way he was nurtured when he was growing up by his mum. He was absolutely always believed in him, no matter what he did. So that it really makes me think about, I actually really had a really great childhood, no problems in childhood, we had a great family, my parents are still together, no problems at school really. I was never bullied or anything. I was always hung out with the popular kids, and yet like I said, I have this persona of maybe that I've showed up in a certain way, but I know that on the inside, even putting my hand up in class, I would be so nervous and didn't want to stand up and talk in class, and then meeting boys and stuff, all of it was just, I can feel almost my heart rate rise and the levels of anxiety that kind of comes with that, with completely normal day-to-day stuff. So I know that I've also had this ability within me to push through that, and I've always pushed myself to do things anyway, whether it's in sporting achievements, whether it was going to university, or even little things when I've been able to connect with what it means, what my core values are and what I care about. I always remember there was some really geeky kids in my class at school, and I would always be the one that would go and stick up for them. And I felt it was quite important that people aren't treated in such a way. So it's those little acts of courage, and that's just seems something so small and insignificant, but when I know that it's something that I could really connect with, this is where you find your ability to be more courageous, and those little acts of courage then build onto your increasing your levels of confidence. So think about how confident you are already. I know so many of you have grown in confidence so much, and it is definitely one of the reasons why I get you guys to celebrate your wins all the time, because when we can see ourselves doing things successfully, it breeds our ability to want to go on to do more and more of that. And that's why I get you and encourage you to do it every day, every week, every month, because when we feel like we're winning, it's easier to keep on going. But yeah, I mean, to work on developing my own confidence, because there are so many things that I know that still scare me and I am fearful about, but it's coming up and actually chasing and facing those. And it's why I encourage you guys to set yourself up for challenges. So the more times we successfully do something, the more comfortable we're going to feel in doing that thing. So when it comes to challenging yourself, whether it's a fitness challenge, I'm a huge fan of fitness challenges. I love it when you guys sign up for stuff. And I think back to I remember when I did my very first Spartan race. It was just the sprint, it was just 5k. And I can remember being at the starting line, oh my God, literally feel sick, had to go for 10 million poos before I go and do the race, because the nerves are just there. And going and it's a mix of nervousness and adrenaline, but actually going and doing that race and just getting to the finish line and like being like, oh my god, I can do this. And then the more and more races that I do, I still get this like feeling of adrenaline and a little bit of nervousness, but now it's far more excitement, and I keep on pushing the boundaries. So I started doing the 5k, then went on to do the 10k, then went to do on the 25k. I then wanted to do all 3 races in 1 year. I then wanted to do that twice in 1 year. I then wanted to do the trifecta in 3 different countries, and now I'm going on to push myself to do the ultra. So it always starts with that very first step, that first feeling of like what feels scary to me and what feels like a push. So for me right now, I've made the commitment to like write a book. I've definitely been putting off doing that. I've got a lot of fears around that. One, you know, I've talked about this before, not being good enough, like in terms of like, you guys know that my spelling is pretty horrendous, but I do enjoy writing. I enjoy sharing my stories, but then there's fears around like, oh my god, what if I spend like, you know, half the year writing this book and then nobody freaking buys it, or somebody does buy it and like, oh my god, it's terrible. So all of these fears that come up, yeah, I know that by facing up to them and actually facing them head on and just doing it anyway. And this is, you know, there's a book called Feel the Fear and Do It Anyway. Definitely recommend you check into that. So confidence is built on those small acts of courage. So the thing that we want to develop in taking more actions, facing those fears, the more you do it, the easier it's going to get and the less stressful these actions are going to come. So yes, when you like think about the things and you think, oh god, it's too stressful, it's too much, we can put them off. But we know that once we start to take those first steps. So the first thing that I wanted to touch on here, and I'm going to give you some like journal prompts to think about, for you to like start mapping out on. So the first like question is like to really think about like how confident are you right now. So if we think about like our reality check wheel, like if you were to rate that on a 1 to 10, how would you say your level of confidence is right now, and get real with yourself about it. Also identify areas there that you would like to improve. So maybe it would be, I know that one that I would definitely want to improve on is public speaking, if that's what I want to continue to grow and build on what I'm creating here, is to be able to do it in front of more people. So that's definite elements that I want to start working on. So just get out your journal, write that. How confident am I right now? What areas do I know that I want to improve on? Then I want to encourage you to lean into your intuition. So it's time to really start trusting yourself. And I think this is a huge one when it comes to confidence. Like when you can start to trust yourself, everything changes. And I'm not saying like that if you use it, like I will talk you through the tool that I use, and I have mentioned it to you guys before. So trusting and leaning into your intuition. I do it on a feeling and a kind of energetic feeling. So I will simply sit, hand on heart, I take a few deep breaths, try and calm myself down, and I will just say to myself in my head, like whatever the question is about, is like, should I do this, option A, or should I do option B, or C, D, E, however many you've got, and I'll put my hand on my heart and ask myself, does option A feel right? And then notice how I feel. Or is it option B? And it is so interesting. You've really just got to be quiet, and you will notice a significant shift in what your body does. Sometimes you have to ask the question a few more times. Sometimes it's just like instantaneous. But I think the thing is to like not overthink it and just go like with that first one. And we talk so much about like having a gut feeling about something. Learn to trust yourself. Go with that gut feeling. Get out of the brain. Get into the heart. Because, and like I said, it's not that choice is always going to be the right one, but it is always going to be the right one in the moment. Because there have been many, I've messed up like so many times in my life, and there have been times when I think, oh God, I was following someone else's advice on that, and it went with that, and it all went horribly wrong, and then I felt so frustrated, and I kind of like hold on to that. Whereas I've gone with the decisions that I know that have felt right for me, like in my heart that felt like the right decision, even though it didn't turn out well, I can let it go because I know I was following my own truth. Does that make sense? I think intuition is really powerful when you can learn to trust yourself and kind of let go of the expectation of the outcome and just know that that was the path that you were supposed to take. Because if it all turns out to be a complete and utter mess, that was because there was a lesson there that you needed to learn. Yeah. So use this whenever you feel undecided about anything. Like, I know so many of you are like, feel as though you're at like pivotal points, like within careers or following certain paths. So really start to use this on a regular basis. Use it in your meditations, use it on your visualizations. Take note of the things that you are seeing, that your soul is telling you. It is speaking to you all the time. So often we are so busy on the outside that we forget to connect with these internal feelings. So whenever you're doing any of this work, always choose to go inwards. Next question is, what do you feel fearful of, or what are you struggling in your life right now? So what are the big struggles? And this is about honouring the struggle, and it kind of comes back to what I just touched on then. So yes, we want more ease and flow in our lives, but sometimes coming together, it's going to come on the other side of the struggle. I think a big problem is that we always want things to be easy. I mean, you think about it in like the diet industry, like people just want to be able to take a pill and be skinny, and you know, that's not how it works. If you want to change your body, you have to put it through a series of exercises or movements. We have to create that adaptive change. It has to feel hard before it's going to get easier. I mean, with workouts, I always tell people that it doesn't actually ever get easier, because you keep pushing yourself that little bit more, but your body gets fitter and it adapts, and that's how it's changing. It's the same with your mindset over any element. Like when I've been growing my business, there have been times when I'm like, oh my God, is anybody even listening to me? And like getting over that hurdle of wanting to keep going, because on the other side of that is where you start to get the results. So many people just give up far too easy, or not far too easy. It's like they don't get the immediate results, so they think, oh well, just go back to how it was before. What would happen if you decided that you're not going to give up, that you're just going to look for another route and keep on going? So the growth comes on the other side of what challenges you. So start to make friends with what's the worst that can happen as well. This is another element that I think of, like when we get into this area of struggle, we start to say, oh, this is when the fears pop up. This is when the fears arrive, like, oh my God, this and this could happen. So this is a great one to write down. So the question or journaling prompt is like, what are you scared of? Like, what are you really scared of? And I think I asked this over on the fan page the other day. It's like, what is your biggest fear in life? Like, what are you scared of? Because most of the time, whatever it is that fear is, one, it's probably never going to happen, but if we can just really connect to it. So as I was talking about writing my books, like my big fears is like that it's terrible, that it's going to get slated, that no one reads it. So in this example, if I get clear on what the big fear is, then I can relate to it and imagine myself. So if you write down your fear, imagine you were like coaching your best friend through that whatever your fear is. Imagine if that was someone telling you theirs, what would be the advice that you could give to them? So in terms of my own, with regards to the books, it would be to say to myself, well, if no one reads it, well, it doesn't freaking matter then, does it? I've just spent my time writing this work, but if no one's going to read it, then it doesn't matter. And actually the time that I've spent writing that work, I will have been doing a lot of deep inner work on myself, and like we're getting very specifically clear about what it is that I want to share with the world, and actually just practicing delivering that content that I want to share with the world. So actually it's probably going to be a good thing. And then if I did get some negative feedback or people that said it was rubbish, then it helps me to realise that I'm not going to be for everyone, and that is okay. And also that if there are areas that I can get feedback on, that I can work on and develop, then that's actually going to be a good thing to help me to become better. So does that make sense? So I had the fear of, mine was writing a book, it being crap, nobody buying it. These are the things that are like stopping me from getting started on it. So then I write this down, I write it out, I rationalize it, and then I talk back to myself, coach myself, what would I say to someone else if they came to me with that problem? How would I work it through? And there's going to be a bazillion different ways I could work through that, but the way that I just said in my mind, so like, well, if it doesn't matter, it's an opportunity for me to work on me. It's an opportunity for me to look at where I can improve. And actually, the idea of me getting to improvement is actually quite exciting. So write through that with whatever it is for yours. Send these over, post them over, share them, and we can work through these together. So face your weaknesses instead of always leaning into your strength as well, which I think is an important one. All too often people are like, rely on their strengths, but actually the real power comes when you can recognize what you are not very good at. You can get support with that thing and learn to get better at it as well. And whoever achieved greatness avoided struggle. You know, we've got to embrace the struggle and know that it's where we get our most and biggest amounts of growth. So consider the things that you are not that good at right now. What do you want to work on developing? How could you develop or work on that area and learn to see the struggle as part of your growth? So your journal prompt on this one is, if something great could come from my biggest struggle, it would be. Identify the struggle and then start to create the idea of what really great thing could come on the other side of that. Make sense? I think so. Okay, next element is, and I'm going to give you a worksheet to go through all of this as well. It will be somewhere around. Simple conversation. So talking about your dreams and goals to more people. I think this is quite an exciting one because actually it's not something that I do that often, but actually putting it into words and speaking more about the things that you want to create. Like I do this with my husband, like and tell him like, it's all right, babe, because I'm going to be like a multimillionaire, and he kind of just like rolls his eyes at me, and like that's fine to do it in that safe place, but it's something that I do want to start. Like I'll always talk about my dreams and goals with the house. I find that quite easy to talk about and exciting, but often with my business, because I suppose, and this is what it comes down to, like we want to avoid criticism or judgment from other people. But yet the act of speaking aloud the things that we want in our lives and actually inviting the criticism in and being okay with the fact that we might get judged and criticized is where the power is at. So is why I'm encouraging you to speak your truth, express who you are, how you feel, think about the things and speak about the things that you desire and dream of, because this is how you're going to manifest them. With like we're talking about them, we're kind of putting it out there all the time. I want this, I want this, I want this, this is what I'm working towards, this is what I'm doing. Tell people about it. So yeah, it's going to open you up to judgment and criticism, but I've really put off speaking about these things. And yeah, like I say, I tell my husband about it and he kind of like rolls his eyes and he's just like, whatever. I'm like, no, I'm going to retire you soon, babe, because like he hates his job. So I want to be able to retire him. And he's like, yeah, whatever. And he's like, lack of belief in me is kind of almost motivating. Like I want to prove it to him. I want to prove it to myself. And it kind of comes the fuel behind what I do. And when we get that amount of self-doubt, and if we can open ourselves up to this amount of criticism and be able to deal with that, that is actually strengthening us up. So start to talk about the things that you want to create. Of course, we've got to get clear in our own minds first. So creating the dream, creating the goal, that is what we're always doing. And then start speaking it, verbalizing it to like everyone you meet, everyone. And people might think you're delusional. People probably think I'm quite delusional, but it kind of brings the fire. You want to prove yourself. And also, I think it's actually going to attract the type of people that you want to spend more time with into your life, and that actually may be able to help and support you, because you want people around you who are going to support you within your dream and goal. look at those external judgments as a good thing, and it's part of the struggle, right? And not everybody will get you, and when you can allow yourself to be okay with that, that is when you're going to set yourself free. Like when you can just be like, whatevs, I'm just staying in my own lane, doing my own thing, working on my dreams and goals, connecting with the people who do care and who do give a shit and who do want to support me. And anybody who doesn't is like free to walk away. They can have their judgments of you, but when you stay in connection with your own values and dreams and goals, then actually what anybody else is doing around you really doesn't matter all that much. Yeah, but it's like be the wonderful little weirdo that you always wanted to be. Like this is the part of like setting yourself free, when you can remind yourself that you, irrelevant of what other people think, that is when you start to stand in your own confidence, and that will grow and that will build. So I want you to, journal prompt on that one is, when I put myself out there, if someone makes fun of me or it doesn't work out, I am just going to. Like think about who that person would be who doesn't give a shit about what anyone else thinks. Like that's empowering, right? So, you know, write that out. So I'll say that again. When I put myself out there, if someone makes fun of me or if it doesn't work out, I am just going to ... fill in the blank. Like get clear on who that person is. Who is that confident person who doesn't care of the judgment, of the criticism? What are they doing? How do they stand up? How do they act as a result of criticism? And then your next statement is, my big ass dream that I'm going to start telling more people about and asking for help with is ... Get clear on that vision. What are you going to start speaking about to other people? So mine is like that I'm going to be the first multimillionaire in my family. I'm going to be able to help thousands of people with the work that I do. It feels really uncomfortable saying that out loud, even to you guys. So to be able to start to speak that with other people, I know that I'm going to have to work up to, because people are just going to think, you're a dick. And that's like what I think. Feel like that is going to be the judgment or criticism on me. And maybe some like self-limiting beliefs around whether I actually believe that that is possible. But it's time to start taking bold actions. We are all ready to level up in here. So I would love to know your thoughts on any of that stuff. And as I said, I'm going to have a handout for you guys so that you can work through it. It starts very small. It starts with the little actions and behaviours. Getting in touch, starting with those conversations, getting in touch with your intuition, honouring the struggle, and reminding yourself that every little act that you do is a little step forward towards your most courageous and confident self. So I'm excited to see what comes up for you with this one.